All right, you are watching India Today, and the big sensational development that's coming from the world of cricket is that Virat Kohli has decided to step down as the Test captain of the Indian team. Let's first quickly read you the statement that Virat Kohli has put out on his social media feed. He says, "It's been 7 years of hard work, toil, and relentless perseverance every day to take the team in the right direction. I've done the job with absolute honesty and left nothing out there. Everything has to come to a halt at some stage. And for me, as Test captain of India, it's now." There have been many ups and downs and also downs along the journey, but never has there been a lack of effort or lack of belief. I've always believed in giving my 120% in everything I do. And if I can't do that, I know it's not the right thing to do. I have absolute clarity in my heart and I cannot be dishonest to my team. I want to thank the BCCI for giving me the opportunity to lead my country for such a long period of time, and more importantly to all the teammates who brought into the vision I had for the team from day one and never gave up in any situation. You guys have made this journey so memorable and beautiful. To Ravi Bhai and the support group who were the engine behind this vehicle that moved us upwards in Test cricket consistently. You all have played a massive role in bringing this vision to life. Lastly, a big thank you to MS Dhoni, who thought that I had it in me to be a captain and found me an able individual who could take Indian cricket forward. So that's the statement. It's an emotional note, as we are saying here, by Virat Kohli, and this comes barely a few hours after India failed to win the first ever Test series on South African soil. They lost the Cape Town Test. 212 runs is what they were defending. And remember, India had taken a 1-0 lead in this series. Many considered this was going to be India's best chance to win a Test series on South African soil. However, that dream could not be realized, and that did lead to a lot of disappointments. We heard from Virat Kohli yesterday as well, and he did lament the fact that the Indian batting had let the team down, and they could not realize their dream of conquering their final frontier, that one country where they had not won a Test series before this, and his team had a golden opportunity to do that. However, that's not the only reason many are attributing for Virat Kohli to have given up on this captaincy. Remember, just go back and just take a look at his Test record. Firstly, 68 matches that he captained India in Test match cricket, won 40 of them and lost just 17, 11 draw. And that has to be the most successful record for any captain in the history of Indian Test cricket, having won 40 Test matches. And more importantly, it was the Virat Kohli team, even though he may have missed a few matches because of injury on that Australian tour, the last tour. But apart from that, it was Virat Kohli's team that consistently also learned how to win on foreign soils, something that was lacking in Indian teams of the past. And that's another aspect that you have to look at when you look at Virat Kohli's Test captaincy. The other thing that he brought about into the Test team, the change of culture, the kind of aggressive cricket that you started to see as well. As well as the performances, whether it comes from the fitness front of how the team really pushed that bar when it comes to fitness. They prided themselves on winning series abroad. This is something that Virat mentioned quite often, and that's exactly what the team did on the field as well. Not just talking.
Beautifully done. Didn't even bother to move.
So that is the big breaking story on India Today at the moment. Virat Kohli, the captain of the Indian Test team, has decided to step down. Now you have to also look back at the circumstances that were behind Virat Kohli. May have taken the decision based on that, things that happened just leading up to this Test series. Remember, he had let go of his T20I captaincy, after which there was this entire saga that played out where not only was a new T20 captain announced, there was also talk that it's best that India has the same white ball captain, and in that sense, it would have been Rohit Sharma who would have taken the reins of the Indian team in the white ball format as well. So, in the sense, Virat Kohli had to literally give up on the ODI captaincy. And listening to Virat after that, after it was decided by the selectors that they will have only one white ball format, it did seem like that was something that didn't go down too well with Virat Kohli. He also mentioned that he wasn't really told at the time that he was giving up T20 captaincy that if he gives that up, his white ball captaincy would also be taken away from him. However, that was just before the start of the South Africa Test series. So any decision that he may have taken, or if it had played a role in him deciding to let go of his Test captaincy, that would have had to wait at the end of the Test series. And as expected, series, we have heard an announcement from Virat Kohli.
End of the over. 106.
All right, Rahul Rawat, my colleague, joins us on the broadcast. Rahul, we have fresh viewers joining us as we break this story, something that we've been following on India Today for the last 1 hour as well. Of course, Virat Kohli there mentions that he's given the best that he could to the Indian team for 7 years, that he led them in Test cricket. Of course, there are talks that he now wants to concentrate on his batting too. His batting form was suffering, and he may want to concentrate on his batting and then allow someone else to take the reins of the Test team. But just for our viewers, explain the circumstances that led to this decision, what transpired a few months before that, and whether that also played a major part in Virat giving up on his Test captaincy at a point where the Indian team was right on top in Test cricket.
Well, Nikhil, having seen everything as it happened in last few months, if you ask me, I would say yes, that was one of the primary reasons that Virat today is not the Test captain of this Indian team. Of course, in August, September, when Virat announced that he's going to step down as T20 captain, it actually came as a shock to a lot of people, because just a couple of months before the T20 World Cup, he says that I'm not going to be the T20 captain. Then comes the news that he is not going to be the ODI captain, and that news comes from the selectors. The selectors, or rather the BCCI, issued a statement, just one-liner, one sentence, that the selectors have also decided that going forward, Rohit Sharma will be the captain of the white ball cricket as far as this Indian team is concerned. Now, a day before India is to leave for this tour of South Africa, Virat addresses a press conference. He says that because the BCCI president, Saurav Ganguly, had in multiple interviews, he had said that I personally requested Virat Kohli to not to quit T20 captaincy. But of course, he refused. Now, Virat, when this very same question was put forth before Virat Kohli, he said he was never asked that not to quit T20 captaincy. In fact, he said that it was taken very, I was told that it's a very progressive decision for Indian cricket. Now, of course, that didn't go down well with Saurav Ganguly and, of course, with the BCCI also, because the meeting in which all this happened, there was 9 other people. Now, there were frictions between the BCCI, or if I can say Saurav Ganguly, and Virat Kohli. There was talk that Virat will be served with a show cause notice, but of course that didn't happen, because it wasn't. It wouldn't have been a right decision, and Saurav Ganguly, the board president, was requested or was asked by some of the office bearers that the team is in the middle of an important South Africa tour. It won't be right to send him a show cause notice at that point in time. Now, Virat. And then Virat leads the Indian team in that first test in Centurion. You win that important test match. Never in the history of Indian cricket you've won a test match in Centurion. Then Virat is injured in the second test match. He comes back in the third test match, addresses the press conference yesterday. He was asked multiple questions on transition before and after the test match. And he never gave an inkling or a hint that he's not going to be the Test captain. He was asked about Pujara and Rahane, whether the Indian team is looking beyond them, the transition process, and comes the bombshell today that I am not going to be the Test captain, because every time I have led this Indian team, I have always intended to give my 100%, and now I don't think so. I'm just rephrasing that. He's saying that at this point in time, he doesn't feel that he can give his 100%, and that is the reason why he's quitting or stepping
Let
down
me,
as
Rahul,
Test captain.
that was his reason. Let me try and pin you down. You were with me on the broadcast when we had former India selector, former India Test player, former India World Cup winner, as well as former India coach in Madan Lal, who said in as many words that it's clearly you could give cricketing reasons that Virat may have given in his statement, but clearly there must have been anger. That must have been playing
Absolutely.
on his was treated, and that he thinks is the reason why he may have decided. There's merit in that argument.
Absolutely. Nikhil, for the past few months, we know it for a fact that Virat has not liked a lot of things that have happened. Now, the problem, what is the problem? The problem is that there was a time when there was a court-appointed committee of administrators. Mr. Vinod Rai was leading that COA, and Virat had absolute power. Everything that he would say, he would get it. Be it that if he wanted to get rid of Anil Kumble as the head coach, he got his wish. Everything that he asked for, he asked a pay hike, he got it. Not just for himself, but for other players also. And now comes the BCCI. BCCI wouldn't want. If I'm sorry if I can use this word, BCCI all the time. They would want. They cannot have a player grow bigger than the board, and Virat had that sort of a personality, and things changed after that. Ever since you have had the BCCI, Saurav Ganguly came in as the board president after the elections, Jai Shah as the board secretary, and the other office bearers and other people. A lot of things. In fact, there have been meetings, there have been board meetings in which a lot of cricket associations have actually mentioned about Virat Kohli, about the players, what they have spoken to their players. So things, Virat, unfortunately, I'm sorry to use a word like this, that he would find himself a loner in that dressing room now that there is no Ravi Shastri, no Bharat Arun, no R. Sridhar, because these were the people, and I'll give credit to all these people and of course Virat Kohli, who were responsible in inculcating a culture in this Indian team that made them so good, that made this Indian team so good that it could go overseas and win so many matches, win so many series that you had not done previously.
Okay, as my colleague there, Rahul Rawat, pointing out, there is a lot more than meets the eye in terms of why Virat Kohli may have decided to step down as Test captain, as he's talking about the kind of support that he may have got earlier. That's not the kind of support that he's getting right now. Of course, the controversy that followed of taking away the ODI captaincy from him when he had only decided to give up on his T20 captaincy. So there's plenty of undercurrents, a lot of things that transpired between the BCCI and the Virat Kohli, and it wouldn't be fair for us just to pin it down to one test series or one test loss. That too, not the most unusual sort of an occurrence. India losing in South Africa has happened many times before. Can't be that one devastating loss after which he may have decided to give up on captaincy. Whether it had something to do with his form or not also is something that we've discussed. But before I carry on that discussion, just to give you a bit more perspective on the entire story, we spoke to former India coach as well as former India World Cup winner in Madan Lal, and these were his thoughts on why he thinks Virat may have let go of this Test captaincy, something that he absolutely loved doing.
I think it surprised me, Virat Kohli has left the captaincy, but I think he still look very annoyed with the decision the selector or the board has taken it when they said, you're not going to be the captain for 50 overs. That's, I think he still has in mind why they have removed me from the 50 overs. We knew that he's going to be the captain for Test cricket, and he is very successful there. But nothing to do with this series. But definitely, I think he's still very annoyed with the decision the selector or the board has taken, the 50, removing him from the 50 over captaincy.
All right, you heard there Madan Lal, who clearly mentions that he wouldn't be surprised if Virat Kohli is still annoyed because of the fact that he was taken away as ODI captain as well. And then I think more than just annoyance, Rahul, of taking away the ODI captaincy. I think what transpired after that, that to and fro between what the BCCI president said, then Virat Kohli said something in a press conference. Counter question were asked of the chairman of selector in a press conference, and he corroborated what Saurav Ganguly was saying. In all of this, I think all that has also played a part. Of course, it started with taking away that ODI captaincy, but what transpired later as well.
Exactly, and we all thought that when Virat had addressed that press conference and India had won the first test in Centurion, that it's all over. But we knew that it's not over, because a few days later comes Chetan Sharma, the chief selector of the Indian men's team, and he informs the media, and he was well prepared. Earlier, the what had happened, or what was the norm, was that every time a squad or a team would be announced, BCCI will just issue a statement. Imagine on that particular day, for that particular team, the chief selector comes for a virtual press conference, and he says, when he was asked about this issue, he said that I was expecting this question and I was prepared for it. What does that mean? So obviously it was, Virat would feel that this thing has happened only and only to prove me wrong. That's it, as simple as that. Excuse me. And that's it. But Nikhil, as a cricket fan, as somebody who wants to see Indian cricket flourish, I am worried. I am worried about Indian cricket, what has happened in the last 4 or 5 months, and what may happen next.
Now, just to ask you two direct questions, and these are going to be with regards to the BCCI. Firstly, in a sense, Virat has preempted them, the kind of action that may have been taken against him once he comes back, and that was spoken about in various media platforms. You and I also spoke about it, that BCCI was contemplating taking some sort of action after that statement made by Virat Kohli that contradicted what the BCCI president had said or what the chairman of selector had said. Firstly, because he preempted it, has he left the BCCI red-faced at the moment? One. Secondly, because you don't have a natural leader ready, and there has been no plans for a transition, or even there were plans, maybe they thought he's going to carry on for a few more years as the test captain, and that plan can come to fruition a little later, with a few years down the line. Now all of those plans have gone down the drain. So what does the BCCI do now? Can they again play peacemaker, try and resolve this issue for the sake of Indian cricket, have a word with Virat Kohli if it is indeed that anger that has prompted him to let go of his captaincy? Maybe this is something that can be spoken in a dialogue, because you don't have a ready leader, and because Virat has done his personal form may be struggling, but the team under Virat Kohli has scaled new heights. Would that be an option, or would the BCCI be willing to go down that road?
Nikhil, I think if I would call it as a damage, the damage has already been done. And whatever you mentioned, you were 110% right. BCCI was left red-faced the day Virat addressed that media conference. And also, not to forget, the Manchester test that we've been talking about. The board wanted India. Imagine there are COVID cases in your camp. The other team, that is England, they were there on the ground. They wanted to play the test match, the last test match in Manchester. BCCI, to an extent, wanted the Indian team to play that test match. But Virat and company, of course, the other players, they refused to play that test match. Virat, the BCCI would have been left red-faced then also. Then when Virat announced that I don't want to be the T20 captain anymore, I think at that point in time also Virat preempted. I don't know if Virat was losing his test captaincy or not, but he preempted something. It was Nikhil, if you knew that there's a show cause notice waiting for Virat Kohli, was waiting for Virat, would also knew something. Virat would also maybe he is preempted. Maybe, I'm just saying maybe because he preempted. But BCCI, I doubt if they would have removed Virat as captain of test team at least, because he has results, he has credentials. As you rightly said, in the last 2 years, maybe he's not scored runs, but team has done well. It's just that without all those runs, his bargaining power with the BCCI has dropped considerably now.
What happens to the Indian Test team? I think that's the biggest question that I think cricket fans
Exactly.
would be worried about, because you and I interact to a lot of our fans over the digital medium on a regular basis, and I know how much a lot of these fans support the Indian team, whether they win or whether they lose. The biggest question we got once the team had lost is what is going to happen from here? How does the team progress? Now, my point is, for a team to be successful, you need a very good captain. You need a good Test captain. Virat has decided now to step down after all the success that he had as a Test captain. What are your options? The other option was Ajinkya Rahane. He's now uncertain to make the playing 11. We saw a glimpse of KL Rahul, your next captain, and he left a lot to be desired in that one Test match he captained. Of course, he can improve with time, but that will take time for him to get as good as an experienced captain. Rohit Sharma is your another option, but he's not always fit or is not always available for a lot of tours. So he also cannot be a long-term option. Also, in terms of age, also, he isn't a spring chicken anymore, if I can use that phrase. So what happens now? What is the future of Indian Test cricket? And what does the BCCI do now if they have to do that damage control and get the team back on track? Because you remember, we may have been getting easy Test series now, but you're in the middle of a World Test cycle.
Absolutely. Nikhil, you're absolutely right. In fact, that is the reason why I said I'm worried. I was worried what has happened in the last 4-5 months, because what it can lead to. And now that Virat has announced that he's not going to be a Test captain, what happens next? Rohit Sharma, because of his fitness issues, because of his injury issues, now you've already announced that going forward he's going to be your white ball captain. And what happens? 2023, we are looking at Rohit Sharma as your captain, because in that World Cup, when the Indian team walks out to play that first match, Rohit Sharma would be leading that team. So obviously, Rohit Sharma's focus would be white ball cricket from here on. Is it possible? And Virat is 33, Rohit Sharma is 34. In 2023, he would be 36 or 36 years old. KL Rahul is the other option, and KL Rahul, we've seen him just once in Test cricket. In IPL, we've seen him. But at times, he looks out of sorts. He looks out of ideas. But captaincy is a process. Hopefully, if he does get, I'm sure going forward, at least he will be the vice captain. Ajinkya Rahane, we've already discarded. We've already announced that he's played his last Test innings in Cape Town and may not get another game. Mind you, Ajinkya Rahane is just 33 years now. Now, do you rethink the entire strategy as far as your transition and selections are concerned?
All right, Rahul, just stay on with us. Plenty to talk about as far as this big breaking story that is emerging from Indian cricket after Virat Kohli. As I've said before, it's come as a bolt from the blue. No one really expected this, for him to let go of his Test captaincy, and that too just a few hours after that series lost to South Africa. Remember, the team is still in South Africa. There is still an ODI series to be played after this. What transpires from here on? How is the BCCI going to react? And who would be your next leader? How does this play out in terms of Virat Kohli, the batsman? Does it make him, get back into that 100 scoring form that we had gotten so used to with Virat? We'll try and address all those questions. But for the moment, we'll take a short break on India Today. Plenty more on the other side. All right, you're watching India Today, and we are on the big breaking story at the moment. Virat Kohli having decided to step down as the Indian Test captain, and now he will be a captain in no format. That after he'd already given up on his T20 captaincy, after which BCCI decided to have another ODI captain as well. So suddenly, in a matter of few months, from being captain in all formats as well as captain of his IPL team, today, Virat Kohli has decided to relinquish that last captaincy that he had of the Indian Test team, and so now is not going to be captain. He's issued a statement saying for 7 years he tried to do best for his team, tried to take the Indian team as far ahead as possible, but now he decides that it's time for him to now concentrate as a batsman and let the Indian team move forward. My colleague Rahul Rawat is still with me, and we've been trying to recall the various reasons that could have been why it was decided that, or why Virat has then decided to give up on the Test captaincy. One of the reasons that's really emerged, and we even spoke to Madan Lal a short while ago, where he had mentioned that it's clearly a lot of residue of that fight that had happened, or the to and fro that happened between the BCCI as well as Virat Kohli, and him being taken away from the ODI format as well, or his captaincy taken from his hand of ODI cricket. That may have certainly played a part in Virat Kohli then now also deciding to give up on Test captaincy. Why it may have happened at the end of the series is because while all of this drama was playing out, India was almost on the verge of starting a Test series. He may have thought that it wouldn't have been prudent at the time for Virat to take any call on his Test captaincy. He may have wanted for the series to get over, and right on cue, as soon as the series is over, 12 hours after he addressed the press conference and addressed all the things that may have gone wrong with the Indian team, he's now decided to step down as the Test skipper of the Indian team as well. So one thing, and as Madan Lal mentioned while he was talking to India today, was that he must have been upset. He may have been angry with the way that he was dealt with as India's white ball captain, and which is why he may have taken the decision. Why this might surprise a lot of Indian fans is because when it comes to Test cricket, Virat has always said that that's the pinnacle. That's the one format that he absolutely loves playing, and he wants to take this Indian team to the next level, which he did manage to do that. It is the #1 Test team in the world. They did play the World Test Championship final. They won 2 back-to-back series in Australia, as well as are leading a series in England as well. And overall, at home, they have been absolutely unbeatable. So all of those boxes were ticked, and then that's why this does come as a bit of a surprise that Virat has decided to give up on Test captaincy as well. He thanked Ravi Shastri, the other support staff that had supported him during his time as Test captain. But now purely and solely wants to concentrate on his batting. Remember, Virat has mentioned previously as well that he sees himself playing another 5, 6, 7 years of international cricket and try and contribute to the Indian team. When his white ball captaincy was taken, Virat at that point had mentioned that while he's giving up his T20 captaincy, that doesn't mean that he's not going to contribute in terms of any planning or in terms of any help that the new captain might need. And of course, as a batsman, he'd love to contribute in India winning various matches. My colleague Rahul Rawat is also with me, and we're trying to look at various he may have decided to give up on that Test captaincy. And one thing that's really emerged was, as I mentioned, the argument or the fight or the disagreement or that entire saga, you could use multiple adjectives, that was played out between the BCCI and Virat Kohli. There were talks that the BCCI might have a word with him once he comes back, and because of the statements that he issued in the media that were contradicting statements that came from the BCCI, whether it was from the BCCI president and then later from the chairman of selector as well. So that may have been a thing that could have been looked at. Did Virat preempt that? Quite possibly, as most of our analysts that joined us in the last hour and a half spoke about. But as I said, Indian fans would also want to know what happens from here for Indian cricket. The other thing to ponder over is what happens to the Indian Test captaincy. Who's your next captain? Virat, as I mentioned earlier, his record speaks for itself, has done outstandingly well, and at that peak of where the Indian Test team at the moment, for him to leave, you'd really have to look for a new captain. I think the plan was set in motion of having KL Rahul as the next guy to take over from Virat, but he only got a chance to captain once here after Virat's injury in the second Test match in Joburg, and that Test match as well, you could see there was inexperience in the way KL Rahul marshaled his troops, and that's not to say that he wouldn't improve with time, but that would take some time, and he had to spend a few years probably under a more experienced captain in Virat Kohli as the vice captain for a 3, 4, 5-year period, and from there on it would have really been a perfect time for that transition to happen. But unfortunately that wasn't to be the case, and that transition would have to be right now. Your other senior options for captaincy in Ajinkya Rahane, he at the moment would be fighting for a place in the playing 11, so he's not that option you're going to go to. Rohit Sharma can be a stopgap captain for the time being till you groom someone, a youngster to take over, but Rohit has had issues with well. So would you then want to continue with them? So plenty of questions that are still left to be answered as soon as that is decided that Virat is going to step down. There is Jasprit Bumrah, another contender that we continue talking about. He was named vice captain. So there are a few options that the BCCI are also going to be looking at. But don't think anyone in the BCCI or the BCCI top brass had any inkling that this is going to happen, and that the whole planning of grooming someone and to reach there in 2 to 3 years' time, they might have to take that decision right away. So that's the big story India today at the moment that we're breaking, that Virat Kohli has decided to step down as India's Test captain. Could be other reasons as well that might have played out that were behind. Probably Virat Kohli deciding to give up on that captaincy. I think now I'm joined by my colleague Rahul Rawat. Rahul, we were talking about the reasons that might have been behind Virat Kohli giving up on that Test captaincy. But what about Virat Kohli's form? Now, if you have to look at that silver lining, that one positive, could it be that once he gives up on this Test captaincy, that he could concentrate on his batting, and that dry spell that we've seen, and only saying dry spell in terms of the 100, of course, he just got 70 odd, a very crucial 70 odd in that third Test match. But in terms of that, the high standard that he had set, his average close to 15 Test cricket, do you think he can get back to that? And now this captaincy burden, because it'll be taken away from him, he can solely focus on his batting?
Well, that's what we thought when he stepped down as T20 captain, that at least he's got that burden off his shoulders of not leading the Indian team in T20 captain in T20s. And of course, later, 1 month later, he announced that he's not going to be the captain of RCB also. So 3 formats and IPL, that would mean 4 formats basically he was leading, out of which in 2 of those formats he had stepped down. Now ODI captaincy was also taken away from him, and now Test captaincy. I would expect maybe if he was getting too much distracted, this was the best thing to happen for Virat Kohli. If he can become the same player that he was a couple of years ago. For the last 2 years, November 2019 was what he scored his last international 100 or Test 100, no hundreds. So 79 he did score, and then another 29, but he didn't seem in complete control, at least in the second knock. The first one that he played, of course, it was perhaps a lot of people are saying that it may not have been 100, but it was nothing less than 100, the manner in which he got those runs. But yes, from here on, maybe we can expect Virat 2.0, but still, that he will have that feeling maybe that he wanted to lead this Indian team. And also, Nikhil, you also have to remember that India has to play a Test match in England this year. And that Test match, because the legacy that Virat is going to leave behind as a Test skipper, he's won in Australia. England, as of now, he's leading 2-1. He's had some great results overseas. England was one place where he wanted to win. 2-1 they are leading, and the one final Test match is going to be played later this year. And maybe Virat Virat is not going to lead the Indian team in that particular Test match.
What do you think would be the next course of action from the BCCI? I mean, it's his prerogative. He's decided to let go of his Test captaincy, and that's that. What does the BCCI do? Just announce the next Test captain?
That's all they can do. I think 25th of February is the next Test series that India is playing. That's going to be against Sri Lanka at home. So that's a relatively easy series. A lot of players you'll see will be rested from that series. Most likely, see, as of now, Rohit Sharma. Or see, if we were talking about Virat Kohli, or we were talking about Ajinkya Rahane being rested or being left out of the selection, and have somebody like Shreyas Iyer in that 11, Hanuma Vihari in that 11, leave out Cheteshwar Pujara. Maybe we can have a young captain also. Try a new captain along these in these next few 5 odd months, when you have relatively easier series against Sri Lanka, West Indies, and of course against Bangladesh also. Apart from that, England series. So England one-off test match. So you may try a new captain. Because, with Rohit Sharma, Nikhil, you also would understand that it's a little tricky issue. He may not be available for everything, for all the 4 formats. Now he's going to be in the same shoes that Virat had been in the last 6-7 years, leading India in all 4 formats, including the IPL. So now Rohit Sharma, in this age, where he's struggling with his fitness also, he's 34 years. Now is he going to lead India in all 4 formats, including the IPL? That's going to be quite an ask from Rohit Sharma.
All right, let's also listen in to Virat Kohli. He spoke to us in 2019, and that's the moment where he mentioned, his drive for winning, his hunger for winning. How much does he like Test cricket? And this was an exclusive conversation that he had with India today. Here are a few excerpts from that.
The team that you have now, since that World Cup, the way Indian cricket team has played, whether it is in the West Indies, whether it is against Bangladesh, whether it is against South Africa, is this the best mind space in terms of Test cricket, white ball cricket, whatever cricket we are playing? Is winning an ICC tournament an obsession? Do you think that is a yardstick we should apply? 1980s West Indies did not win an ICC tournament. They were the best team. Brazil did not win a football World Cup. They were the best team. That Zico, Socrates, that team of 1982. Is winning an ICC tournament for you as captain of India the benchmark to judge yourself? And when you look back, you've now played international cricket for more than a decade. How do you rate this team?
Well, I think the team has unbelievable potential. To be honest, I've been a part of the change room when all our legends were there. That was a different level altogether of cricket. If you saw the players all around the world at that time, you're talking about the best of the best competing against each other. So to watch that quality of cricket was amazing, purely from the skill point of view, and how these fast bowlers and these amazing bowlers around the world, and even our bowlers and our batting greats would come up against each other. And it was fascinating for me to watch these big names in world cricket going against each other. Now what has been added is the intensity of the games, intensity of how fit the teams have become, how the game is, as I said, moving in a different direction. And what pleases me the most is that we've been able to live up to that transition, and very well, to be honest. We are probably in, if you look at the team across formats, I would say we are in the top 2 teams in the world. And we're very proud of that, because we started off with a young bunch and transition's never easy. But I think the guys have slowly understood the importance of belief and understanding a role in taking Indian cricket forward. So the insecurity about their own game has vanished. If you see, we enjoy each other's success, we enjoy each other's company, and everyone's just wanting to help in some way or the other for the betterment of Indian cricket team, and in return the betterment of Indian cricket as a whole. So I would say you could look at winning an ICC tournament like an obsession, or like a wish that people have, which is a beautiful thing to wish for, because it is seen at a global level and every cricketer would want to win that. But if you ask me honestly, I didn't ever think that I would be part of the winning World Cup team in my first World Cup.
True.
Or 2 years down the line we'll win Champions Trophy as well. So I never thought of these things, but it happened. So it was meant to happen for us. But I think in hindsight you can look at a lot of things. We obviously have the desire to win big tournaments, big series, and we want to give our best effort possible. But if you focus on things which are only based on success and numbers and results, I don't think you can enjoy the process. And we as a team, we play so well because we enjoy the process. We enjoy being in difficult situations and coming out on top. Basically what we are doing on a daily basis is competing with ourselves. How good can we be when we are put under pressure? It's not about coming up against someone or trying to prove someone else wrong. It's about bringing our own standard of cricket higher and higher on a daily basis, and setting examples, the right examples for the next generation to take over whenever that happens.
To Virat Kohli there, talking about how much he loved Test cricket, how determined he was to, continue as the captain of the Indian team for a very long time. And in all of that, it does come as a surprise that he suddenly decided to give up on this Test captaincy. We also heard from Vice President of the BCCI, Rajiv Shukla, and this is BCCI's first reaction on Virat Kohli having decided to give up his Test captaincy.
Well, we at BCCI, we respect his decision. I mean, he decided to, quit the Test captaincy. So we respect his decision because we should respect, whatever a player thinks. So that's why we respect that, and his contribution to Indian cricket has been immense. And as a Test captain, he got us maximum number of victories. So that way, if you see that he was the most successful captain, so we all respect for that. And I hope and I think that he will continue to, contribute as a player in Team India.
All right, Rahul, this you could effectively say is the first reaction that has come from the BCCI, considering it's one of its vice president. And he says, that's his decision. We've accepted it. So that's that. Then you could, does that give us an indication that the BCCI has accepted his resignation in that sense? And now they'd be looking ahead and looking at the new captain. There's no talk here now of speaking to him or going back to him or trying to find out what might be the reasons behind him deciding to give up this captaincy.
Well, I'm sure, Nikhil, Virat Kohli must have spoken to even head coach Rahul Dravid and the other BCCI functionaries, especially Jai Shah, the board secretary. He must have spoken to. I'm not too sure about Saurav Ganguly, though, that whether he did speak to Saurav Ganguly or not. But I'm absolutely sure that Rahul Dravid, the other important members, senior members in that group, Jai Shah, must have been informed beforehand that Virat, he's quitting his Test captaincy. They were taken in confidence, and even if they would have, I'm pretty sure again the same thing would have happened. They would have definitely asked him, because this, Test captaincy is a no-brainer. You absolutely don't have a better captain in this team as of now. Obviously you have to go through a transition. Maybe there's a young leader, you want to groom him, and maybe Virat thinks that it's time for somebody else to take over the reins, and he is going to be there as a senior pro, guiding the youngsters with whom he's who he's led for such a long time. So that could be a reason. And acceptance, well, it was just a formality if he's already spoken to them.
Yeah, let's give our viewers, Rahul, sorry to interrupt you there, but we're giving our viewers the latest update, and this latest reaction comes from former India coach in Ravi Shastri, someone, who was instrumental in Virat Kohli being as successful as he was in the Test arena as Test captain, because the two of them formed a great partnership and they both appreciated each other's efforts. So Ravi Shastri has just sent out a tweet, and he says, and I'm going to quote him, "Virat, you can go with your head held high. Few have achieved what you have as captain. Definitely India's most aggressive and successful. Sad day for me personally, as this is the team India we built together." So clearly Ravi Shastri talking about the partnership that these two had, and they had this Indian team and transition from here to where they have reached. Also joining us live now is former India captain in Sunny Gavaskar. Sunny bhai, thanks so much for talking to India today. I understand that you're in South Africa. The Indian team lost the Test series and it was hard. We've been talking about it here on India Today. But despite the result, does this come as a surprise to you that within a few hours after that result, Virat has decided to step down as Test captain? Sunny bhai, can you hear me? Right. I don't think Sunny bhai can hear me at the moment, but we'll try and get his reaction. Sunny bhai, I'm just trying again. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Great. Saibhai, first up, just wanted to know that you're there in South Africa, and just a few hours ago, India lost a heartbreaking Test series to South Africa. As heartbreaking or demoralizing that loss may have been, but are you surprised to hear this decision by Virat Kohli within few hours, having decided to step down as the Indian Test captain?
No, I wasn't surprised at all. In fact, I thought it might actually come yesterday at the presentation. But then if it had come at the presentation, then it would have looked as if it's been done in a moment of, a peak or anger. So I'm not surprised that it has come up after 24 hours or after an overnight situation. So I'm not surprised that this decision has come.
Think could be, I know this is the question best answered by Virat Kohli, but you say that you're not surprised. Do you expected this primarily because of this heartbreaking series loss, or do you think what had transpired before there's all the controversy, you think all of this may have been weighing very heavy on Virat Kohli's mind?
No, I think the realization was there that with the loss over here, that he could be removed as a captain of the Test team as well. So I think it was a decision, to preempt that. So this is what I think. I could be completely, totally off the mark, but this is what I think happened.
Right. So anyway, valid point you make. He may have preempted that what might have happened, and he may have been removed as Test captain. I'm just going to talk to you on cricketing merit. Do you think that once this series loss in South Africa, and considering that Indian team has been doing very, very well, do you think that it would have been prudent, or would any captain be removed after this 2-1 series loss to South Africa, considering how the team has been performing otherwise across the world or even at home?
It's happened before. It has happened before to lots of Indian captains. They've had a series loss and particularly an overseas Test series loss, and they've been removed from captaincy. So, even here now, because here India was expected to win 3-0 actually, not just win by 1 or 2 matches. They were expected to sweep the series. And the way they started in the first game, in fact, it was on day 1 of the centurion that the series was won. The Test was won. After that, I think India were really never in the thing. South Africa became very competitive from day 3 of the centurion Test. The day 2, as you know, was washed out because of rain. Where I think South Africa reset their radar and decided, look, they'd bowled wide, they'd bowled too short, and they concentrated on the stumps. And the results were seen after that with the where the Indians struggled to put runs on board in the remaining 5 innings.
How do you see this decision of Virats to step down from captaincy from an Indian cricket point of view? We're in the middle of a World Test Championship cycle. You'd also be aspiring to play the finals there. Do you think he had reached the end as far as all that he could contribute, as far as him being a captain, and it was the right time for a transition? Or do you think no, maybe that transition would have still taken a few more months had he continued? Then you could have allowed someone like a KL Rahul to be groomed. Just in terms of pure cricketing logic, how do you see this decision having come at the time that it has?
Well, no question that in case India had won the series, then the transition period would have been taken. But because India lost the series, and India lost 2-1, it's not that India lost 1-0. And after being in a position where they'd taken the first innings lead both times, to lose the Test matches did mean that there would have been no real time for transition. I think that the selection committee would have been looking for a change. I don't know. I'm just saying, having been in this position of being a captain of India, having been in a position where the series has been lost overseas, I know what a captain feels. I know what the selection committee feels. Of course, we're talking of a complete different generation. There's a generation gap, and maybe there's a different change of, mindset, change of thinking. That all I agree, but this is generally what happens.
So as you said, that it's happened before. Captains have lost despite doing very, very well, but one-off series, they've had to let go of their captaincy. But the other thing that's happened before as well, there is nothing permanent. Like, we're discussing here that, this is it, that Virat could contribute as a Test captain. But we know that it's happened in the past that once a captain is taken or that role has been taken away from him, there have been times that they've been reinstated as captain, maybe a year later, maybe 2 years later. But do you see that happening in this scenario, considering Virat stepped down himself, and then because you're going to be looking forward, this is the last of Virat Kohli, the Test captain that we've seen, or any captain for that matter?
Yes, I think so. If he had been just dropped as the captain, there was always a possibility after a series, after a year or two, for him to come back. Like players make a comeback as players, individual players in the Test teams, one-day teams, T20 teams. Once they regain form, they come back. But once you resign yourself, then that's a little bit difficult for him to come back as the captain.
Just stay on with us. We'll have to take a short break at the moment, but don't go anywhere. We're continuing this discussion. We'll have Rajdeep Sardesai join us on the other side of this short little break. We're breaking this big story on India Today at the moment.